Hello and welcome. It is that magical time again. It is finally sketchbook tour time. If you've not been on this channel before, hello, welcome. My name is Fiona. I'm an artist and illustrator, and I love filling sketchbooks, talking about sketchbooks, talking about art supplies, all that kind of good stuff. This is the sketchbook that I have spent the last year filling. I started it last June. This is a Royal Talens art creation sketchbook. And if you've heard me talk about this sketchbook before, you probably already know that I don't like it very much. I didn't think it was a great sketchbook, at least not for my purposes. That being said, I am a completionist, so I stuck with it to the end and I filled it cover to cover. And despite me not liking the paper very much, which I'll talk about as I go through, I still made some artwork in it that I like and that I wanted to share with you. So okay, let's dive right in. One of the things, the very first thing I dislike about it basically, is that I really like covering my sketchbooks in stickers. Let me give you an example. This is my next sketchbook. I've only been using this for a few months, and as you can see, it's already absolutely covered. This is what I like to do to sketchbooks, but because this is a cork-backed one, I can't stick anything on it, so that's my first red flag with this sketchbook. So instead I just filled the first page. So I had been reading about historical book plates and I really liked them as a concept, so I decided to just draw one in here and put the start date. Actually, hang on, let me start and end date. Cool, okay. Yeah, so in lieu of being able to cover the front cover in stickers, I've stuck them all in here. I especially really like these ones. They're like gummy 3D whale stickers. This right here, I don't know if you can see, this is, I've got a little photo printer that prints your iPhone photos as stickers. So this is actually a sticker stuck in there as well, but this is a photo that I took in Japan. So yeah, that's the very first page. Yet more stickers. And the very first thing I like to do in new sketchbooks is test all my pens. All the pens I like to use most commonly, I test them on the paper just to make sure they're gonna act how I want them to act. My art supplies that I go for the most tend to be, well, I use fountain pens a lot, but I knew they wouldn't work with this paper. And the other ones I use are pens like this. So, you know, super fine line black gel pens are my other go-to. So I was just testing them all in there. I wasn't super happy with how Copic markers performed on the paper. I think this particular paper seems to wash out Copic markers quite a bit. I thought they looked a bit faded and sad. As for stickers, this is just the sticker you get with a new iPhone. I don't know, I just stuck it in there. This is from Sticker App, I believe. And this was made by Savannah Storm, who's also my friend IRL. She's a very talented artist. You can get her stickers if you Google her, Savannah Storm. Okay, so this is the first real page. I drew this on the train, I seem to remember. I made a little art vlog day video of going and drawing in a little coastal town near here called North Berwick. And that was this sketchbook's first outing. So that's what the first few pages are. Okay, so I've written first real page in new sketchbook. I'm not sure about this paper just yet. It feels kind of cheap and it doesn't like a lot of my pens, but I think I sort of like the desaturated textured look it gives to my Copics. That sounds like cope, bestie. That was me being like, maybe I like the desaturated look. I didn't really, I think I was just trying to convince myself to use the sketchbook because I bought it. But anyway, so this is me, this is a little outfit of the day that I drew on the train. This was, I sat on the beach in North Berwick and drew this. I went pretty early in the day, so the mist hadn't cleared out over the sea and it was quite like a sort of foggy, grimy, gloomy sort of day, which I quite liked, very atmospheric. And this is a lino print that I did. If I ever slightly bungle a lino print, like you can see it's a bit smudged here, and I can't really do anything with them, like sell them, I'll just glue them into my sketchbook because, I don't know, it's useful for covering the back of Copic marker drawings where the ink goes through, and also it's just a nice recording of what I've been doing. This was a dog that I met. So this is my sketchbook. This is very meta. This is my view. So we've got my actual sketchbook and a mini version of this drawing. And there was this dog that kept running up and trying to get me to play fetch with her. She was dropping her ball inside my backpack for some reason, and it was covered in sand, and my bag was full of sand for weeks after this. This is one of the many great quirks about doing urban sketching and drawing outside is you meet random dogs who are really curious about what you're doing. Also on the beach, documented some of the wildlife that I saw, various gulls and birds. We get moon jellyfish around here in Scotland. I think they're pretty much common all over the world actually, but you often see them washed up on the beach, and some shells. And we've got a landscape. I think the sun had risen at this point, so we're starting to get the blue sky in. So yeah, North Berwick. It's really pretty. If you're ever in Edinburgh, it's really worth a day trip out to North Berwick. The train is about 45 minutes, half an hour, and it's very pretty. So yeah, I guess that was the end of the North Berwick day. I also like to just scrapbook in various receipts and leaflets and things that I get. I really like to treat my sketchbook as a scrapbook. And again, because you can cover up things. For example, the back of this was just marker that I'd gone through, so I might as well stick something over the top. I think just doodling here, media experimentation of, I've done a watercolour background here and done colour pencil over the top. I like this doodle of strawberries. I think this would be really nice as a lino print, you know. A little vine of strawberries on a plain background with stars. That's kind of in the back of my mind as a lino print I'd like to make. These were done with Prismacolor pencils, I think. I started seeing more and more on Pinterest drawings that had frames drawn into them, and I really liked it. I've written here at the top, Millie Amber Insp. So I think that's who this was inspired by, an artist I found on Pinterest. I really like the folky look of the flowers, and I like the idea of building in a frame into a drawing. I think that's a cool concept. This is a little observational drawing of my dog. This is Rolo, and I've drawn this in a rainbow coloured pencil. I like to use these quite a lot in my sketchbooks. You see how there's all the different rainbow colours in the lead of the pencil. Yeah, they're fun for doing observational sketches with. They just sort of jazz it up a bit. I wonder if this was inspired by Animal Crossing. There's something Animal Crossing-y about the head, I think. This was kind of a study of a very famous art piece. It's a tapestry. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Maybe I'll write it on the screen if I remember, but it's that's absolutely giant of a caged unicorn. And I wanted to do a little coloured pencil study of that. And also we've got the rainbow pencil coming in again. I think these are meant to be snowdrops. I think this was a portrait of Vivienne Westwood, I seem to remember. And this is a bit more media experimentation. So we have been redecorating our house recently, and we've got lots of little sample pots of wall paint, which are not really meant for art or sketchbooking, but I just wanted to give it a go and see how it worked. So I've done some blobs of wall paint tester swatches here, and I've drawn over the top black and white to sort of do negative colours over. Yeah, you see what I mean? It was just a fun little experiment. This is a flyer from an artist market that I did. This is another outfit of the day. This is me, and I've done some little flowers. I've written here Leanne Flug. This was a doodle based on one of her ladybird drawings, Leanne Flug. This is another lino print of mine. Again, a case of one that I slightly botched. As you can see, there's a lot of gaps and lines where the ink hasn't filled in properly, that I've just decided to, yeah, I had, you know, back of marker drawing showing through the page, so I might as well stick this in. By the way, all the lino prints that you'll see through this book, the proper versions of these where I haven't made mistakes, are available for sale in my shop, which is all linked down below if you're interested in picking up a lino print. This is cool. This is a moth. I don't think I used any reference for this. I think I just made this up based on... Recently I've been interested in folk art flower designs from, you know, European folk art and that kind of thing. That's kind of what this is inspired by as well. I really like the flatness of them. Some of my drawings, I like them to feel as if they all exist on one plane, if that makes sense. No depth to them, which sounds kind of bad, but I like the flat, folky look of that. I hope that makes sense. This is a flyer from Printwork, who does most of my art prints. These were planning doodles for a digital art piece that I did a while ago that I actually posted a speed paint of. I'll link that as well. I wanted to do a digital art piece based on Kiki's Delivery Service, which is pretty much my favourite movie of all time, I'm gonna say. So I was sketching out ideas for a, Kiki's Delivery Service print. Yeah, so I had a couple different ideas here. Kiki flying, Kiki and there's a sunset, a typography piece with a quote from the film moving through it, Kiki looking out a window, and then I eventually landed on this concept here of I wonder if it was maybe kind of inspired by this. Yeah. And I decided to just do a simple portrait of Kiki and Gigi with a crescent moon and sort of these swooping, again quite folk arty inspired flowers around her. But yeah, I'll link that if you're interested in seeing the process of that. One thing I'm going to point out is, do you see how kind of almost blue these pages look on the video? That isn't the camera and it isn't the lighting, that's the pages. This is one of the things I really don't like about this sketchbook. Some sketchbooks have paper that's so white it's almost blue, and that is my main gripe with this. There's a lot of things I could excuse about paper, for example the way the Copic markers work on it, the way they kind of fade and desaturate, I don't really mind that. The way that you can't really use fountain pens on it, that's again also a common thing. But when the paper itself is just a colour that I find unpleasant, that's really hard to get past. Let me show you, just to compare. This is another sketchbook. You see the difference? This is not particularly yellow, this paper, but it looks it in comparison to this. This is more of a cream, whereas this is a really, really cool white. And I don't know why sketchbooks do this. This isn't the only sketchbook brand that does this. Leuchtturm sketchbooks are the same as well. Super, super cool white paper. I don't know, who wants this? Is there someone who wants this? I definitely don't. Anyway, this is, so this will have been summer. I've written, I miss autumn clothes. Summer can be done now, please. And I think this is me wearing the autumn clothes that I wish I could wear. I think I drew this in the middle of summer, and this was me looking forward to being able to wear autumn clothes again. I stand by this. I think autumn fashion is the best. I really enjoy big jumpers, scarves, long coats, all that kind of thing. I don't really know how to dress myself in summer. These were sketches for my Japan travel journal that I made based on my first ever trip to Japan last year. This was me doing a sketch design ideas for the front cover. I ended up not going with these and I did a sushi themed design instead, but this was just some doodles for that. We've got a raccoon. I think I drew this with Muji gel pen. This is a digital drawing that I did. A piece of advice that I've always heard of as good self-promotion for artists is to write postcards to art directors and publishing companies that you'd maybe like to work with. And I mean, I know you can always send emails and add people on LinkedIn and stuff like that, but the idea with doing this is that it's kind of novel and more memorable to receive a physical, little artwork in the post. So that was this. I turned this digital piece that I drew into a postcard and addressed it to, Penguin Books and all of those people and all the different magazines I'd maybe like to work with as a freelance illustrator. This one was, I think I just messed up the address and I didn't want to scribble it out and rewrite it because it would look kind of unprofessional. So I just glued this one in here. I've got to say, I don't think this postcard campaign thing I did really worked. I know other people have reported having a lot of success with doing this kind of thing. But I don't know, maybe I'll hear something back from them down the line. But yeah, it didn't really work out. I probably won't do it again, to be honest. This is observational drawing I did in a cafe. Sitting and drawing and sketching in cafes is one of my absolute favourite things to do. This was Steampunk Coffee in North Berwick, which is that seaside town you saw at the start of the sketchbook. If you do go to North Berwick on a day trip, definitely go to Steampunk Coffee. They're great, the coffee's amazing. They do all their own coffee bean roasting and stuff like that, and you can buy coffee beans to take home as a little souvenir. And yeah, the coffee's amazing. And there's always cute dogs in there as well. It's a dog-friendly cafe. This is another slightly failed lino print. I've lost the definition of the leaves there, so I glued that in. And this was me coming up with, I've been thinking for a little while about wanting to do a stamp and stamping all of my Etsy orders as they go out, sending them out with little stamps on the envelope. I think that would be a nice bit of branding. And I could stamp the paper packaging that I use as well. I don't know, I haven't done it yet, but this was just me brainstorming an idea. Might be nice, maybe I will do that someday. I think this was me trying to come up with a new Instagram display picture, or just a little portrait of myself that I can use for whenever I need an icon, basically. Because I do have one, but it is pretty old. It's from when my hair was shoulder length and dyed blue, which it is not either of those things anymore. It's now very long and dark brown. So I need an update. Maybe I will do this. Maybe I'll complete this at some point. I drew this, I think, when I was sitting at Artist Market that was going quite slowly. This is shapes that my dog sleeps in, and they're all baked goods. He does the croissant, He does the cinnamon bun, where he forms a perfect circle, the baguette, the apple turnover. Sometimes he sleeps on his side with all of his limbs pointed into one point, and he forms this little triangle. And then this one is called the baking at 38.5 degrees for optimum paw smell, which makes it sound weird, but you know when a dog has been sleeping under a blanket for hours and you lift it up and they just smell amazing. They smell like a really comfortable dog smell. I always think my dog's feet smell like biscuits, like really malty, you know, digestive biscuits. It's my favourite smell in the world. Sketches from the Botanic Gardens. This was another day that I filmed. I've got a vlog of this day up. This was with Tombow markers, I want to say. Yeah, so Tombow markers, they've got the pointy end that are good for details, and they've got the brush tip that's good for leaves and anything sort of fluffy. This day was really cold, I seem to remember. What month is that? September? I think I thought it was going to be warmer than it was, and I didn't bring a coat, and I remember sitting there freezing doing these. But yeah, the things we do for our urban sketching, and some leaf shapes as well. I use a lot of flowers and leaves and plant matter in my illustrations a lot, but I think I kind of have a visual library in my brain of how flowers and leaves look. That's quite restrictive, if that makes sense. When I go to draw leaves just from my imagination, I always draw them in the same sort of way. And I think I just wanted to broaden that a little bit and start introducing myself to using different, plant shapes. So I went to do some observational drawing for that. I don't know what was under here, but I clearly didn't like it very much. I covered it in washi tape. Oh, okay, so I had the idea of wanting to draw all of the Studio Ghibli girls aged up a little bit, and also in our world, the outfits that I think they might wear. So I've got Sophie in quite a practical outfit, you know, she's got her sleeves rolled up, she's got her Doc Martens on, but I've also given her this silver star belt, because those star creatures falling to the ground are one of the things I really remember about Howl's Moving Castle. Ponyo, she has got some flip-flops, shell jewellery. Arrtx, I've given her cargo pants with lots of pockets for all of her various borrowing that she does. Yeah, it was just a fun little idea that you know when you have an idea for a drawing and you can't rest until you do it? I was like, oh, I gotta do this. That's what this was anyway. I guess when I did the Botanic Gardens drawing, I just jumped back and forth, because I'm pretty sure this was the same day as this, so I'm not sure why I then did this on a different day, but whatever. Yeah, so this is still the Botanic Gardens. This was a pigeon that I saw, some trees. Yeah, I've written, it's so cold. It really was. But yeah, I think this kind of thing is just helpful for when you have a kind of illustration style that isn't very realistic. Like kind of how mine is. I don't really draw realism. It's too easy to fall into just using your imagination for everything. For example, you know, flowers and leaves and stuff. And you fall into patterns of always drawing flowers and leaves the same way, and they become almost symbols rather than relating to what those things might look like in real life. And I'm just trying to, you know, get myself out of that mindset and start not being more realistic, but just broadening my idea of what my illustrations of plants and leaves and flowers might look like. Got some more flower doodles. This again was with the Tombow markers, but with this end rather than the brush tip. I draw a lot of dragons. This is the thing that comes up in my work a lot. I like drawing dragons. This one has been shot with a giant arrow. It's falling out of the sky. It's very upset about it, as you can see. And this is a mermaid. One thing I like about illustrations of mermaids is when they really play with scale. I really like, I don't know, sort of Lovecraftian horror of the idea of a ginormous mermaid, like bigger than a blue whale, and how they might toy with ships. This was an observational drawing. This is Andy, this is my husband. This is him sitting in the living room. We've got a big bay window with a chair in it, and it's a prime reading spot. If anyone is doing some reading, this is the chair to do it, because you've got the sunlight, you've got a little table next to you, you're in amongst the plants. It's very cozy. Got some life drawing. These are the 1 minute quick gesture poses. And I think this was the first 2 minute one here. These are all 2 minutes, this one's 5 minutes. I think even if you have a drawing style that's not very realistic, it's still really useful to do life drawing, because it just, I think you've got to know the anatomy, you've got to know the proportions and the ratios in order to bend and break them into illustration styles, you know? These are some more 5 minutes, these are some 10 minutes. This is another swatch of wall paint, I think. And yeah, so Andy got me a Polaroid camera for my birthday, which I was really excited about. And I very quickly learned how difficult it is to use. I'm spoiled by, you know, having access to phone cameras this whole time, which do so much of the work of photography for you. I hadn't used a film camera in so long. I was like, oh, you actually can't just point and click. It's actually really hard. You've got to get light right. So yeah, that's a very shadowy picture of the living room. And I've written, first attempts with a Polaroid camera is actually so hard. True. This was another observational cafe drawing. There's a cafe in the centre of Edinburgh called Love Crumbs, which is really nice. And instead of drawing the environment, this time I focused on the people. I hope this wasn't too creepy. I hope nobody noticed me drawing them. But these are sketches and doodles of the various people at the tables. Got some wolves. More recently, I've been experimenting with coloured pencil textures. For a long time, my range of art supplies was pretty much exclusively Copic markers and fine liners, and that was what I did everything with. Recently, I've been moving more into water-based markers, colour pencils, stuff like that. Just trying to push the boundaries and broaden a little bit. This was a gel pen drawing that I did in the airport, which was, you know, when you arrive really early for a flight and you've got ages to kill, which is probably why I was thinking about flight. Yeah, I don't know, I've always been interested in hot air balloons visually. I'm not sure why, they're just fascinating to me. I think this was a kind of a half-baked idea for like a children's book about a fox and a rabbit flying to the moon together. This was done with Posca pens, I think. I think this was a drawing where I just sat down and started making shapes. I don't think I had a plan for it when I started. This is another slightly failed lino print. I've lost the flat blackness here, where I've not inked the plate enough. And yeah, so as I said, we were in the airport here. It's because we're going to Amsterdam. I love Amsterdam, it's one of my favourite cities. It's really beautiful. It feels small enough that you can walk around everywhere, but there's still so much to do. This was, I think, the train from the airport to the city centre, and this is Vondel Park, which is a great big park in the middle of the city. This is my little outfit of the day. I made a artist drawing vlog of this trip, by the way, if you're interested in seeing that. I've got an Amsterdam artist vlog. This is my favourite Dutch food. I'm not going to pronounce it right. Poffertjes? Poffertjes. It's these tiny little pancakes, absolutely covered in butter and icing sugar. They're really small, they're about that big, and you get a big pile of them. They're really tasty. We also went to this place, Back to Black Coffee, and I think the owners have a cat who just lives there. It's not, you know, technically a cat cafe, the cat just hangs out, but it's really cute, it's really nice. This was a acai bowl that I had, Rain Bowls Amsterdam. Bloody love acai bowls. And yeah, this is, I don't need to tell you this is Amsterdam. This is so Amsterdam. So I think on this day, Andy had gone off to meet a friend of his who lives in Amsterdam. And I went off on my own and decided to just, yeah, sit on the side of a canal for 2 hours and draw all these lovely buildings. Again, yeah, like I said, this is all vlogged. There's a video of this if you're interested. And this is the Botanic Gardens, Amsterdam, De Hortus Botanicus. It was autumn, so there was loads of interesting mushrooms and stuff everywhere. Inside the greenhouse. This is my ticket. And yeah, another leaflet. I like to scrapbook and stick in things like this. Partially because it makes the sketchbook so thick and crunchy when you've got loads of things pasted into it. And also partially because it's just a nice memory. And I had a butterfly house at the Botanic Gardens, which I really liked. This was a documentation of a week of outfits. This is me. This is things that I am generally found in. I wear dungarees all the time, or overalls if you're American, we call them dungarees. And I had these pair of stripy tights that I really liked until the dog shredded them, and I was very upset about that. This great big blue jumper that I have with a daisy on the front, all throughout winter I wear this all the time. It's proper wool, so it's really hot and warm and thick. So I can't even get away with wearing it in summer without just melting into sweat, but throughout winter it's amazing. And then to be honest, this is my default state most of the time. If I'm in the house, I'm pretty much almost always in a dressing gown and pyjamas. I just like to be comfy, what can I say? This is a digital drawing that I did. With some ex-co-workers, we had a D&D game going where it was all cats. I forget the race of cats. They're called, in D&D, they're called tabaxi, I want to say. Yeah, so we played an all cats D&D game, and I decided to do character art for all of our cats. So this was me, I was the ranger, and as you can see with my bow, I ping scrunched up balls of paper because I'm a cat. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing the character design. I would definitely like to do more D&D themed artworks in the future, I think. This was a little tryout that I did with deleter screens. So I don't know if you can see, I'll hold it up close. Do you see the slight screen toniness texture of the shading? These are deleter screens that I picked up in Japan. They're basically great big transparent stickers that I used to physically cut out and add shading to manga and comics and things like that. I've, grown up reading manga and I've always wanted to try them out and thought they looked really cool. So yeah, I picked them up when I was in Japan and decided to do a little mini comic panel of myself as a gym leader. So if I was a gym leader in Pokemon, I would definitely be grass type. Those are my favourite Pokemon. And these are who my team would be. Maybe not the Hobbit because they're kind of useless to battle with, but I think they're cute. I would definitely have a Whimsicott though. Whimsicott is my favourite Pokemon, so there you go, fun fact. I wanted it to look like a comic, but also like the game itself. The little clickable text box. But yeah, again, there's a video of this as well. I think my thought process with this was, this is how cats see themselves. Like a giant ancient trickster god who dominates over tiny little humans. This is how house cats view themselves, I think. I think they don't know that they're tiny and cute and soft. I think they think they're terrifying beasts of the forest. I kind of just wanted to draw, what if a house cat was a cryptid, Again, as I said, I've been really inspired recently by drawings that have, illustrations that have frames built into them. I think that's a fun look. We've got another liner print that went a bit wrong. I think the issue with this one was just that it's meant to be blue, but I've smudged a bit of black in at the top. This is one of my favourite ones that I do. This is hibernating mice. What have I written here? Thought bubble table sign. Yeah, so I did the thought bubble convention last year. I had a table, a half table, and I decided I just needed a name sign for it. So this is me doodling for ideas for, what turned out to be the name sign that I have at my art market table. And I've written Etsy to-do list here. Reorder these pins, list this, that and the other. Yeah, I often just use my sketchbooks as a notebook as well. So I made a video a little while ago about ideas to fill your sketchbook. And this was one of the ideas for that. It was a compilation of all different kinds of drawing warm-ups that you can do. So this was a contour drawing where I looked at my own hand for a reference. And the idea of the contour drawing is to draw something observationally without lifting your pen off the paper at all. So you end up with lots of these kind of loopy, doubly back lines as you make your way across. And the idea is it forces you to really get rid of the idea of what you think a hand or whatever looks like, and instead really look at the actual shapes and the spaces between. And this was a wrong-handed drawing warm-up. So this one I drew with my left hand and I tried to draw my right hand, which actually turned out kind of okay. That's not too bad. I think I thought it would be worse than it was. But again, yeah, this is just something to snap you out of your kind of automatic drawing patterns and again, make you really look at the shapes that you're drawing. This was the flyer from Thought Bubble. I had a table there as an artist last year. It's the biggest comic art festival in the UK, I think that's right. So it was a really big deal and such an honour to be able to go. So that was really cool. And I think these are things that I doodled at my market stall. That's a jay, a blue jay. And then I thought, what if my dog was a Pikmin? That's the idea behind this one. So this was inspired by Barney, who is my parents' dog. He sadly left us since I drew this. My parents are really like Dalmatians. I've always had Dalmatians. I grew up with another Dalmatian called Max, who was like my brother when I was a kid. And yeah, so this is Barney. I miss him very much. The anatomy is a bit weird here, to be honest. But I think I was drawing without a reference. I was just drawing from imagination. So yeah, that's what happened with this one. And these were, I think, referenced from someone else's sketches actually. I've written Shuuinn in Shuuinn, so I think this is a reference from Pinterest. Original sketches by this person, although I think the snail was just me. We've got some more life drawing. So this one starts out with some 30 seconds, really quick gesture drawings. 30 seconds, 1 minute. Some more 1 minute and 3 minute. So this is a male life drawing model who I find it a lot harder to draw men, and I think it's just because I have drawn women so much. I'm more used to the proportions. So sometimes, yeah, I like to challenge myself and do, yeah, a male life drawing model. These ones were 5 minutes. I don't know how well you can make it out, but this sketch shows it's meant to be a busy traffic scene with lots of cars and vans commuting, and a mouse riding a snail in the middle of it. I think I planned this out to be a drawing completely made up of a collage of origami paper, and I tried it and it did not work at all, so then I redid it as a watercolour and I liked it a lot after that. Again, that's another thing that I have a video of. It's funny how going back through the sketchbooks just reminded me of, I made videos of so much of this. So one of my absolute favourite ways to spend a day is to head into the city, into one of the art galleries. We're really lucky in Edinburgh that we've got lots of amazing museums, and the majority of them are completely free. So if you've ever just got a half day to kill in Edinburgh, you can just pop into the National Gallery or the Portrait Gallery or the National Museum. This was the Portrait Gallery. I think because so many people go to the National Gallery, they don't think to go to the Portrait Gallery, so it's virtually empty. Every time I've been, it's basically empty. And I went and did some, yeah, observational drawing of the paintings, did some studies while we were there. I drew this person because of the hat. I was like, what's going on here? When I showed Andy this drawing, he was like, did you draw the face here and then make a mistake and draw a really long hat to cover it up and then draw the face underneath? I promise that's not what happened. She just had a massive hat. I forget what this postcard's from. It's cool though. So this is an origami collage. I've got a big pack of origami paper that I got when I was in Japan, and I've used it for this kind of thing a few times. So we've got a collage origami snake, and this background is gouache. I want to say it's Turner. Yeah, it's Turner gouache. I don't know if this is from a reference or anything. I think this is just imaginary. I really like it when dogs do this. You know, when they drop their front half down and bow because they want to play with you and they're feeling silly. I love this. This is my favourite thing dogs do. This was a sketch for a risograph print that I eventually made of a Dalmatian. I also want to do a Spaniel one as well, because these are the dogs that are important to me. I grew up with Dalmatians and now I have a Spaniel as an adult, so I love both very much. And yeah, I want to make it as a risograph. It's a printmaking method that I'm really interested in at the minute. I think it's really cool. This is me again. This is another little outfit of the day, again in my massive blue daisy jumper. And I've written here, I've signed up for 9 consecutive days of artist markets for some reason, starting with assembly rooms, then outdoors at St. John's. Sometimes I hate doing stuff like this, but then I remember all the stuff I've had to do in the past that I hated a lot more, like school and crappy jobs. I'd much rather do this. So last winter, I signed up for a week-long Christmas market, and then I also booked the preceding weekend at another market. So it was 9 straight days of being at an art market every single day, with no days off or anything like that. And you're also really limited in how much you can do stuff like eat or go to the bathroom, just because you really can't leave your stall. So it was pretty tough. I'm glad I did it, you know, made a decent amount of money. And yeah, I think this is just a good way to think about it really, because I hated school so much that whenever I'm in any kind of situation as an adult and I'm hating and I'm not enjoying, all I have to do is ask myself, is this worse than school? And the answer is always no, so it's kind of comforting actually. I think this was just a doodle of everything I have on the back of my market table, so I must have drawn this sitting at my market. I've got my little cash box, pens, notebooks, stuff like that. This was another little slip that came with some coffee from, yeah, this is from Steampunk Coffee in North Berwick, as I was talking about. I think I bought this online though. And had the idea, I often have lots of ideas when I'm sitting at markets actually, to be honest. I think it's to do with just being trapped sitting at your desk. So I had an idea of, I wanted to do a series of Lord of the Rings prints based on the, you know, the Not All Those Who Wander Are Lost poem. You probably know it's very famous. Yeah, this is again another thing that, an idea that I liked and sketched down really quickly. I still haven't done, but I still really like that idea. I think I'll pick this up at some point. Yeah, I really like this poem. There were a few lines from it that are really lovely that I think could make illustrations. I think it could be a series. Plant doodles, little pomegranate. Another dragon. I like drawing dragons a lot. Yeah, I don't know if you can make it out, but this one says, deep roots are not reached by the frost, which again is from that Lord of the Rings poem. And then animals that live underground in a wreath shape was the concept. Again, I still haven't done this, but yeah. And this was a doodle of Selkie, which is a Scottish mythological figure. Selkie is a woman who can turn in and out of a seal, back and forth. We've got a Kelpie here as well. Again, another Scottish mythological creature. I did make this into a print actually. I've got a lino print of a Kelpie in my shop right now. So yeah, some of my ideas do eventually come to fruition. But that's what sketchbooks are for. It's for filling up with, would this be a thing? Could this be a thing? And then eventually some of them do become things. This is just the thought process basically. So I got some Caran Dash Neocolor pastels and I got really excited about using them. They're like crayons for grown-ups basically. They're these lovely thick waxy crayons and I really like how they look layered over water-based markers. They're really nice for adding texture. The way I think about colour is I don't really think in terms of like gradients and washes and blending. I really like laying down flat block colour and then adding texture over the top in like other ways. So with Copic markers, I'll lay down flat Copic markers and then I'll add textures with black gel pen or with white fine liner and stuff like that. And another thing I like to do is, yeah, add texture over the top with a coloured pencil, which I think is a cool look. So we've got a little snail, and this was gouache paint, I think. Yeah, this is gouache paint, and again I've gone over it with the pastels. So Pokemon, I think I drew this, I want to say on a train. I think I just had some time to kill. I think train tickets make a nice little souvenir to stick in the sketchbooks. This is again meant to be me outfit of the day. I wear dungarees a lot. I've got some axolotls. And this was sketches for a video I did a little while back where I took a random word generator, took a random word and let it inspire an illustration. I got the word diamond and then decided to do a painting based on the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So that's what this sketch is for. This was a sketch I did for a bigger piece. The final drawing of this is much bigger. It's about sort of A4 in size. I've really been enjoying coloured pencils a lot recently. This is a fairly new development for me because, yeah, like I said, I was really, not stuck, but I was really in the habit of using pretty much only alcohol-based markers with black gel pen. That was everything I drew for years. And recently I've been branching out more into, yeah, coloured pencil textures, and I'm really enjoying it at the minute. This was, I think, I was going to say Tombow marker, but I don't think it was. I think this isn't the colour, but I think it was, I've been using these Muji highlighters to colour with recently, and I think this is one of them. You've got the rainbow pencil back out. I really enjoy using it, it's really fun to add textures and colours in. This is a plan for a liner print. As I was saying at the start of the video, I have an idea for wanting to do yeah, strawberry vine with flowers liner print, so I think this is just me continuing to work on that. I think these were referenced from, these weren't made up, these were referenced from animals, photo references from the internet. Although obviously stuff like the shooting star was made up. I really like the rainbow pencils just for adding a lot of effortless cool to drawings. You get all these cool rainbow effects without having to do anything other than just draw like normal with one pencil. These were referenced from, I want to say, a fashion street style Instagram. And this was just imaginary, I think, but this is using the Arrtx acrylic markers that I've been using a lot recently. I was giving them a try on this paper to see how they would perform. I think acrylic markers don't really like this paper. I think they prefer stuff like Bristol board or hot pressed watercolour paper. So they didn't work amazingly on this paper, but it still looks pretty good overall, I think. Again, this was another drawing with the Arrtx acrylic markers. I wanted to see if I could take a photo of a landscape and simplify it and almost cartoonify it. So that's kind of what that attempt was. And another of the same, yes, this was a photograph that I just wanted to reduce into block colours as a sort of drawing exercise. I think you know who this is. He's a famous fella. This is a hungry caterpillar. And yeah, I think this is from a photo of a tomato. And this was the very last full page spread that I did. This was the last video that's up on my channel. I made a video of just wanting to get this sketchbook finished. So yeah, that's what this was. This again is with the Arrtx acrylic markers. I didn't really start out with any idea other than I wanted to draw some cats, and then I just started laying block colours down, adding stuff over the top, and then I was like, oh, what if I do a kind of like Van Gogh Starry Night inspired thing? Yeah, I lost control of it. But yeah, I like this. I think it's fun, and I wanted to just send off the sketchbook with a proper full page drawing. It would have been really easy to just be like, I'm bored of the sketchbook now, I want to finish it, I'll just do, I don't know, a quick sketch and then boom, it's done. But I thought that would be a betrayal. So I wanted to do a proper full page drawing for the very last page. And then yeah, we've got just the back of the sketchbook. This was a drawing that I did for when one of my co-workers was leaving at my last job. Well, basically she really likes Garfield, so I did a cartoon of her in a Garfield strip. So that's what that was. And then yeah, again, the back page I like to cover in stickers again. So that's it. I really find it satisfying how thick and chunky and crinkly it is. That to me is a finished sketchbook. So I'd said at the start of the year that my goal was to finish 4 sketchbooks this year. Confession, I'm absolutely not on track. It's June and this is the first one I've finished. However, I do have another 3 on the go, so it's not been a linear thing of filling one, finishing it, starting another, filling it, finishing it. It's more that I've just worked on 4 concurrently. So hopefully, yeah, I would really like to get 4 finished this year. It's totally arbitrary. There's no one's, you know, telling me to finish 4 sketchbooks in a year. It's just, I've got that in my head of this is the rate I'd like to be drawing at. I'd like to be filling sketchbooks. Because I think the sad irony of being an artist and then making it into your career is that the more you do that, the less time you actually have for drawing. It's far too easy to let my days be consumed by doing stuff like optimizing my, you know, Etsy SEO, or working on my website, or packaging orders, or working on social media posts. That's all good stuff, but I don't want to let it take over. I really want to make time to fill sketchbooks and draw and come up with ideas. So yeah, I'm hoping to pick up the sketchbooking towards the end of the year. I'm not super happy that this took me a year to fill. I think I could go faster than that. I think I could make art more frequently than that. This has been the sketchbook tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you next time. Bye.